Hey everybody, it's Monday again. I'm just gotten back from a week in the mountains of Tennessee, and I wanted to do my weekly Power of Positive Thinking exercise. So real quick, if you haven't been following this, is that I read a excellent book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, and he has a whole bunch of exercises that will help you get into a more positive mindset in order to change your life basically. So that's the super short version. I recommend if if you want to follow along, then you go along to the first one. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of exercises, and every single week there's a whole bunch of exercises, and it's kind of overwhelming. So I'm kind of splitting them into one a week, and I'm sharing one a week with you. So this week, let me read to you what it says in the book. It says, let me give you a little background first. Is that this is a guy who was a chief executive of a corporation. This is what he does with his group of executives in order to get ideas every so often. And it's actually very similar to what I do too when I want to get ideas for product or for videos or that kind of thing. So it says before starting the session, the group spends 10 minutes in silent prayer and meditation. They conceive of God as creatively working in their minds. Each in his own way silently prays, affirming that God is about to release from his mind the proper ideas needed in the business rather. Following the quiet period, all start talking, pouring out ideas that have come to their minds. Memos of the ideas are written upon cards and thrown on the table. No one is permitted to criticize any idea at this particular juncture, for argument might stop the flow of creative thought. The cards are gathered up and each one is evaluated at a later session, but this is the idea tapping session stimulated by prayer power. Now, if you never tried this before, it might sound weird, but it really works. It works really well. I do it. I've made this a common practice, and I've actually set a time and date where I do this. I do this every Monday, except for today because I was traveling. But generally, I do this every Monday. It's the first thing I do in my workday, and I set aside half an hour where I just write down every idea that comes to my head. I sit silently. I don't have any distractions. I don't have any social media. I don't have any TV. I don't have my computer. Before I start doing any other work, I just sit down with a pen and paper and start letting myself think creatively. And you'll come up with some great ideas that way. And the way that you do it is you put down a lot of ideas, like he said, and don't judge them. Right? Just any idea that comes to your mind, no matter how far-fetched or crazy it might be, just write it down. And then later you can go back and judge whether or not it's a good idea, whether or not you want to implement it. So what I have not been doing is praying and meditating immediately before doing that. So I'm going to start implementing that into my practice. So I encourage you guys, give it a try. Let me know if it works for you. And I think it will. And I will see you next week.